Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown, and you're watching another episode of Devy Darling. My co-host Dino is on vacation this month, so we got some big heavy hitters coming in. Of course, I got my buddy, my friend Shane Halam. How we doing tonight, bud?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me back on, man. It's always good to start getting into it. College season's going to be here before we know it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one. And when me and you start talking college football, people think we hate each other. We get so excited, you know. So, but we don't. We don't. But this will be a good one. We're going to be talking about Clemson QB this year. Cade Klubnik. Last year there was a lot of whatever going on with Clemson. He didn't get much play, but he did come in. A couple games at the end, take over. But before all that, let's talk about Westlake High School, where he kind of made a name for himself, right? His senior year, 71% completion, almost 3,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, the kid was 78 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in his 2 years, his junior senior year at Westlake. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, Shane, that's absurd numbers.
Yeah, and you're talking about the highest level of Texas high school football too. This isn't like North Dakota or
Right.
this is some state. This is the mecca of college football potentially in Texas. And yeah, I mean he was dominant there. I think when you go back and watch that high school film, you see the natural talent he has
Yeah.
and why he was a high recruit.
Yeah, and he's a true athlete. The kid's got some wheels to him with his feet, and he knows how to,
Mhm.
make extend plays, even if it's not to run out of the pocket. He can just extend the play with his athleticism to get the pass off. Um, he's calm, cool, and collective. He's like Joe Cool, right? He can make all your throws, the intermediate ones, deep ball, middle of the field, and he's got touch. He's mobile. Like I said, he can create space, buy time in the pocket, use his legs to score, as well as continue plays, and his anticipation as well. And he just has that like he just like that. He drops him down on the table type kid out there because I saw a couple plays in those two games. There was one play against Tennessee where he just kind of like rolled out, just said, "I got this," and just put it up there. Threw it to the running back down the right side in the first quarter. The running back literally had to go full extension through two guys to get it, but he put it where only he could get it. That's a freshman. Just saying he got the cojones to just go out there and do it. Like we said, 61 for 100 last year, 61% completion, had close to 7 yards. He only came in the ACC championship game and the bowl game. Well, let's talk about that championship game against North Carolina. Shane. What did you see in that game? I know. Everybody was saying, "Why do we wait so long?" All the Klubnik fans, going into that game, and then in the first half, all I saw on the Angry Blue Bird was, "What do we wait so long for?" Talk to us about that game. What your thoughts were?
Well, and that was obviously the better game of the two. And I
Right.
think coming out and seeing, some of the NFL style throws, usually a true freshman, I think it's very rare to get that. But you see some outside the sideline, like you kind of talked about, some of those sharp passes that he placed where only his receiver could get it. I thought in the North Carolina game showcased a couple of those very difficult ball placement throws on a rope
Yeah.
that were pretty strong arms. So I said, oh, the talent was clearly there when playing in the ACC championship game. And yeah, just the way he kind of navigated the pocket too, because he had those moments, like you mentioned, extending plays, but
Yeah.
there are also some good plays where he did step up in the pocket and kind of climbed it to get the ball out, even if it became a second, third read or check down. He was able to do that. So the fact that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, Clemson's offensive system last year was god awful, but was very old school in a
Right.
way. In a way, it was good because we got to see him play in that kind of NFL type of structure, older structure, but an NFL type of structure that I thought worked.
Yeah, that is definitely a pass NFL style. Like that's old. It's getting to be anemic at this point, the style. And you could see in that offense, that was one of the lower offenses in a P5 school last year, especially a big name. Like the games were low, yards were always low. They never were, they had a couple games they blew a couple teams out, but most of the time, the games they were in it, that offense wasn't high power like we were used to with Dabo. I don't know. A few years ago, they were just throwing the ball. Obviously, it's not the Trevor Lawrence days, but we need something. Let's get a little hot beat back, right? In that Tennessee game that you did mention, we said, like, this was the better of the game. That bowl game against Tennessee. Now, he was, 54.5% completion compared to 82.6. Fine. He had more yards, didn't have any touchdowns. He had 2 picks, okay? But those 2 picks were late in the fourth quarter where he was trying to make something happen because they were down by, three, I think it was 3 scores at that point. So, yes, do I blame the kid? Yeah. But he was also trying to make a play, trying to get them back in the game in the fourth quarter, being down that much. What were your thoughts in that game? Because I felt like he didn't really get rattled. You know what I mean? That's why I say he's Joe Cool. Like, you didn't see him when they were getting, I think they were down by 14 at one point, and then they were down 17. When they were down 17 going to the foot, he didn't like look like he had lost his composure as a true freshman. He was still, like you said, climbing up in the pocket, ready to keep pushing the ball forward. Even when he made that first interception, which was a terrible pass, I get it. It was bad. But the next drive, it looked like it didn't even happen. So what were your thoughts on him in his composure in that game?
And that's what you want to see. I think you want to see someone with the mental build up and fortitude to be able to take those situations and, hey, we're not winning. I'm going to try to make a play happen. I messed up. Can you bounce back from that? I mean, he was under pressure consistently. I mean, Clemson had, I think, half their offense didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
It's a meaningless bowl game, right? And so I think it's always tough. It's getting harder to evaluate a lot of these bowl games that aren't playoff games because a lot of players aren't playing the offensive line. I think there was a third string offensive lineman in for Clemson. Like, okay, that's probably not going to happen again. It'd be great for him to have a great game, despite those where a lot of the Tennessee defense was playing. So I think there's some bad passes in there, maybe some bad decisions where he got rattled under pressure within the play, like you said. But then the next play, he bounced back, even when he took a sack or got hit.
Yes.
He didn't lose that kind of composure. And I think we got to really, as you mentioned before, showcase a little bit of the rushing ability. When things broke down, when the pocket broke down, and he got outside and no one's open, he took off and ran. I mean, I think we're gonna see a really bright rushing future for Cade Klubnik. I think a lot of people aren't thinking about that, but similar to Trevor Lawrence, I think this is a guy who has such good arm talent that you don't expect the wheels. And when the wheels come, he can turn that on and build it. And so that's what I thought was a positive out of this game. I think the rushing line was 51 yards, but he got sacked multiple times. Those get taken off in college. He had almost 100 yards rushing from scrimmage, which was pretty impressive.
He scored, I believe, in both of those games. He scored a rushing touchdown. I'm pretty sure. I think he had 30 in the first game and 50 in the Tennessee game. But yeah, like his legs, and it's crazy. Is like as a freshman, I watched him on. He did an interview with Bustin' with the Boys, and they were talking about like what was your welcome to college football moment, and he was talking about like he took a snap and he was is either you can do the check down or like an RPO and either let it go or take it, and he said talking about we're in practicing. I see Miles Murphy, and I always know in my head as I take the ball as a runner. If he crashes, I keep it. If he doesn't crash, I check it off. He goes, and Murphy crashes, and I go to run, and then I just watch this athlete that I've never seen before just turn and collapse to me. But like, did he see him talk as vision as a run, like as a runner, and still be the the captain of that offense as a passer and a quarterback? It's unique. I mean, it's nice to see as a young kid that you can see that he's got a high football IQ.
Yeah, I think it's apparent. I think even in the Tennessee game, it was apparent that he has a high football IQ. That reading of the defense was coming. And I think in North Carolina, obviously he handled it really well. I think in Tennessee, once they got behind, he started to kind of take some of those risks, even when seeing it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a great idea. But we could see the processing happen. Once again, it's what I want from a freshman quarterback. You go back and watch Caleb Williams as a freshman, dynamic. He was awesome, right? But I mean, there definitely were issues processing the defense.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where that happens when you're 18, 19 years old. I think it happened with Cade Klubnik here, but there's enough progress for me to say he's going to get it next year. Like that's going to be a step forward, and it's scary. I think with a step forward, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
I'm right there with you. Now he was two in the class, right? Two. He was ranked number 2 quarterback in his class.
Right. Yeah, I think it depends where you look. There's some that had him at one, but
Right.
he was mostly second, I think, in the composite scores.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk about the wide receiver room. Who he's going to be throwing to. We mentioned in the green room, will Adam Randall, step up and kind of come into his own? We don't know, but he does have a guy. I say a guy. He's got 2 guys. He's got Bo Collins on the outside, who will be his wide receiver, and then you have Antonio Williams, Agent Zero in my eyes. I think he's the true alpha wide receiver on that team. I think he's going to take another step forward. There's a chance I think Antonio Williams gets close to 85 catches this year, but that's my personal opinion. What are your thoughts on this wide receiver room? Do you think he can advance? And he has Burning Store as a tight end. With those targets, Shipley, Moffer in the backfield, and the added bonus of having Garrett Riley as your OC now instead of Streeter, Brendan Streeter, is that his name? The gentleman who got fired. He took the heat for Dabo pretty much. Yeah. What are your thoughts? How do you see this offense going, being so much more high tempo as we seen with TCU last year?
I think it's going to be a huge difference. I think this Clemson offense is going to be completely new. I think finally getting Dabo to take the step back and bring in someone and Garrett Riley coming from TCU, 33 years old, young,
Mm-hmm.
creative, is going to do wonders. Because we saw even in the playoff, we saw Max Duggan and what he was able to do. I think Cade Klubnik is a more physically gifted,
Yeah.
Max Duggan, right? Like he has the rushing ability
Mm-hmm.
where you can do some of that RPO, you can do
Yep.
some of the read option stuff. But I mean, Clemson would never last year just wouldn't run a screen, wouldn't try to get the ball to a receiver in space. And I think we saw that Cade Klubnik can make some of those quicker pre-snap read decisions. So putting that in this offense, like we saw Quentin Johnston, right? If like you said, if Antonio Williams is going to play that type of role, which I assume he is, you're getting the ball in his hand quickly, slants,
Yeah.
outs, screen passes, bubble screens, take a little bit of the pressure off Klubnik to be able to do some play action, do some RPO, and get the ball down the field. And I think he has the talent to do it. So I think this offense is going to be completely remade. I love Antonio Williams. I think Jake Brenningstall, the tight end, is going to really step up with Davis Allen gone. I think he's going to be a big part of what they do in the middle of the field in the red zone. And I think Bo Collins, Adam Randall, there's definitely other receivers that can step up that maybe we haven't seen step up in a big way yet, but in an offense that's going to open things up a little bit, is going to make it really interesting. So I think it's going to be a fun offense. I think Garrett Riley knows what he's doing, and I think Klubnik is talented enough to really make this work. And the weapons are pretty good. You're going to have a decent run game to back you up,
Right.
and you're going to have some big holes that defenses are going to have to, hesitate a little bit, make sure that Will Shipley isn't crushing them, because he can do similarly to what Kendre Miller did last year. I have no question on that. So this offense is going to work perfectly for the personnel, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm excited. I think this is going to put Cade, in that category, like we said, like possibly one of the top quarterbacks in college football. They're going to spread the field. They're going to move him around. So he's going to have time, right? Riley's going to get. Can you imagine like Bo Collins and Brennan Stool going left on a screen to Antonio Williams as blockers, and he could just cut up field like the way Klubnik can throw the ball, and you can have Shipley in the backfield as a blocker. They didn't do any of that last year. They threw maybe like 10 total screens the whole year, and every time they went to Williams, he did his thing. But I think you get more of that, more like getting him the ball quickly, and then you go over the top to Bo Collins. I think we could start to see a little bit more movement in the offense. I wonder how much comes away from the run game and adds to the pass game. Do you think they go 60-40 like they were last year, or do you think we're going to see a 50-50 split?
I think it's going to be a little more 50-50. I think we get a little bit more of that. I mean, let's see. You had what for TCU last year, about 450 passes to 560 rushes. So,
Right.
yeah. So, I mean, I would guess we see a little more rushing, let's say 55-45. But I don't think Garrett Riley's probably had a quarterback like Cade Klubnik, where
Yeah.
you feel like you have a better chance of hitting some of those downfield passes and mid-range passes, and that's going to be pretty huge.
Now I've dabbled in. I haven't come out and said I'm gonna come out and say it here. I'm probably gonna get roasted, but I'm gonna stand behind this. I honestly think, and I'm in the ACC a lot because Boston College is my team. I cover them. I think that Clemson can run the board.
Oh,
Okay. Now 12-0, got to put him in the playoff, right?
oh yeah. I mean, that
Dabo's been
12-0
there
Clemson
before,
teams
right? He's been there,
goes,
been a
yeah.
little bit, but 12-0, that 12-0 playoff, Klubnik's got to take another step. This could be a dangerous program on the map for the next 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, look, I think Clemson's going to come back. I think they're going to bounce back and get back to being close to a dominant program. I'm not a Dabo fan as a person, or even really as a coach in a lot of ways, right? He's won a lot, more than I would, but still, in a lot of ways, I feel like he should have identified these issues
I'm
last
with
year,
you.
early on.
This.
Um, but the recruiting's so good, and now if you've changed the offense, like the defense has always been really good, and it's going to have great personnel again. Yeah, I mean, I think the one question is that they're going to face a lot of good quarterbacks this year. They're going to have Riley Leonard week 1 at
Yep.
Duke. I think that could be a tougher game if they're not quite ready. And then you face Drake May at the end of the year, and obviously the circle game is September 23rd against Florida State.
Right.
I mean, that might determine
Yes.
the ACC. That might determine who runs the board. I think either of those two teams could do it.
I'm with you. That is the game, the Seminoles game. My concern, I'm not so concerned with the UNC game. I'm not a Clemson guy. I just look at schedule, look at talent, look what it is. I'm a
Yeah,
BC
right.
guy, right? But Longo's gone. Okay, I know Devontae Walker's there to replace Josh Downs. I think they're two different receivers, but you're losing the wide receiver genie as an offensive coordinator. Every wide receiver Longo touches goes for 1,000 and double-digit touchdowns. It's just what he does. He's gone now. So and the guy Chip Lindsey coming to replace him is more of a run heavier kind of OC. So I feel as though that whole offense is going to take a little bit of a step back. In my opinion, I think Clemson's taking a step forward. I think that up-tempo offense going to catch a lot of people sleeping. They're going to go in there thinking you're going to see old school Clemson, and you can watch all the Garrett Riley stuff you want, but talent level's shifting. TCU's talent level to what Clemson has at talent level, I think, is a big shift for Garrett Riley. I think what he's going to be able to do, spread it more trick plays, more crazy plays. I think Clemson can run the table. I think if they can it's that game, the Florida State. If they can get by Florida State, there's a really good chance.
Yeah, and I think Florida State's the same way too. If they can get by Clemson,
yes,
I'm like, oh, well, I think they can run it. So I think it's going to be a game to circle where you have two really good offenses and a lot of defensive talent going up against each other, and both quarterbacks are going to be under pressure. And so Klubnik, that's the one thing he just has to show. That Tennessee game happens again, and your offensive line breaks down. Like, can you make it work and not make mistakes? And I think that's the one thing we want to see from him. And if he can do that, I mean, we could be talking about a number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft, in a year.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna shoot out some predictions, just some numbers. You tell me over or under. 2,900 yards passing.
I think it's a good number. I'm gonna go over. I think he gets 31, 32.
That's where I'm at. 31. Over under 13 touchdowns.
Passing touchdowns?
Passing touchdowns.
Okay. I think he goes over that. Yes.
Over under 8 rushing touchdowns.
Ooh, I'll go under for that. I think just having the running backs they have, we'll see a little more rushing in the red zone. But yeah, I'll go under.
Over under 30 total touchdowns.
I go over. I think there's a chance he has over 30 passing touchdowns. I think that's a possibility. And now, a lot depends. I'm thinking ACC title. I'm thinking playoff, right?
Yeah.
So I think if your prediction comes true, if they go undefeated, he's going to have over 30 passing touchdowns. I think so. I think 30 total over can definitely happen.
And this will be the biggest jump because it was 7 yards per attempt last year. Over under 8.1 yards per attempt.
It's a good number because I think he'll be right around 8. I'll take a slight over. Max Duggan last year was 8.8. And I think this Garrett Riley offense has been pretty consistently up there, so I'll take the over, but it'll be close.
I think great minds thinking like that. That's where I'm pulling that one from. Duggan was 8.8. I'm like, ooh, I know 7, 8 point. That's a big jump. Go somewhere in the middle, 8.1. I think he's gonna hover around that 2.79, 8.1 for the year. Um, but I think everything on Cade Club is going to take a big step. 30 touchdowns passing, 3,100 yards. That's a Devy Diamond to me. I mean, it's just the way it
Yeah,
is. You know what I mean? Like Devy Darling, it's what he is. He's a gem. He's, like you said, possible first round draft pick. I love it, Shane. Um, before we let you go, tell people where they can find you and what you got coming up.
absolutely. You can find me at draftcountdown.com. We'll be relaunching here in mid August, but I do have a 7 round 2024 NFL mock draft I released a week or two ago. So you can check that out on the site. And follow me on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam or any social media at this point, all the random ones I'm on there and doing that. And you can listen to the Devy Marketplace podcast if you're into the fantasy football, then that's where you can find me there.
That's my guy right there, Shane. You guys all think I'm a sicko. Shane, how many years advanced are you in mock drafts? Where you at?
I have a 2026. So we'll wait till I wait till we at least get into college or get ready for college before putting one together. So I'll do a 2027 in May. We'll have 2027 mock in May.
And I'm in a pinnacle of Devy league with this gentleman. It's sick. We're we're getting kids in middle school. It's insane, but it's a good league.
Yeah, look, you did good for hopping in. It's a hard league to hop in the middle of. You did very well. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I was gifted Julian Lewis, so I was thankful for that one. Someone who drafted him well before me, but it was that was a brain twister for sure. That was a good draft. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, that's definitely a league to go down a rabbit hole in for talent. So it's been a great one. Shane, again, I appreciate you coming on. Devy Darling, Cade Klubnik, CFB Prime. I'm Nino Brown. We out.